right. Welcome everybody to the Bhagavad Gita study series. And we are in the seventh chapter. We already started the seventh chapter last class. And in this class, we will continue into a very important portion of the seventh chapter on bhakti. Beautiful, some of the most beautiful shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita are presented here. And Bhagavan is going to clarify bhakti. He's going to elaborate more on bhakti in the 12th chapter, about 24 verses or so. It's titled Bhakti Yoga, but here he's laying the ground for what bhakti is. And what bhakti means devotion and how it is related to jnana. Very beautiful and very interesting shlokas. As usual, we'd like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta exactly as it was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. So we'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage, starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati. With this, we will start where we left off. So we covered 10 shlokas. So the first portion, as we saw before, it is on this introduction to the nature of Ishvara. So let's go. Okay. So first is introduction to Ishvara Swarupa Jnanam, and then in this portion, he's going to describe the Ishvara Swarupa. So we saw until the 10th chapter, and Ishvara Swarupa means nature of God. So he's describing his glories, and he will continue on the glories elaborately in the 10th chapter, because Arjuna asks, please show me your glories, and he says, gives few examples. My glories are endless, Bhagavan says. I will just give a few examples here and there. And here is giving a prelude to what the glories are. So we saw that, right? Of Punyo Gandha Prithivyanscha Tejaschasmi Vibhavasau Jivanam Sarvabhuteshu Tapaschasmi Tapasvishu. I am the sweet fragrance in the earth. I am the brilliance in the fire. I am the very life in all beings and the austerity in ascetics. So each element he gives an example, and he says, of all the elements, I am earth. Why earth? Because it has Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Gandha, and Rasa. All five aspects it has. The gunas. Gunas are the nature. Taste, touch, and smell. All those things are there. He's talking about his vibhutis. Vibhutis means glories. Then in the last class, we saw he's the eternal seed of all beings. Bijam, bija, seed. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam vitti partha sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam asmi tejasvinamaham. I am the intelligence in the intelligent. I am the brilliance in the brilliant. And he then continues. Bhalam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarchitam dharma virutto bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshaba. So this is an important shloka. He's saying of the, why it's important, I tell. Of the strong, I am the strength that is free from desire and attachment. So strength means people immediately get arrogant, right? So here he says, I am the strength that is free from desire, attachment, desire for everybody to worship you, and attachment to the body. I am that strength, the silent strength. It's not just muscular men, muscular bodies. No, men and women, the inner strength. He's talking about that strength. And then he's saying a statement. See, dharma viruddho bhuteshu. Kamosmi Bharatharshava. Oh, best among the Bharatas, Bharata Rishabha. We've seen that Rishabha means bull, or bull among men, which means the most exalted among men, the strongest among men. I am also Kama. Kama generally has a connotation of lust. It's all the lust for sexual desire, money, all those things. So here he says, I am that dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamaha bhuteshu, which means I am the desire, this kind of intense, lustful desire in beings that is not contrary to dharma, righteousness. So he's making a statement. So that is there, but as long as it does not is not contrary to dharma, some of that is also acceptable. And then he says, Ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasastamasascha matta eveti tan vitti natvaham teshu te mai. So Bhagavan is saying, and indeed, ye cha eva, and these indeed, cha means and, is they, eva indeed, and these indeed, satvika bhava, rajasa, satvika, rajasa, tamasa bhava. The states of sattva, rajas, and tamas, matta eveti tan vidhi, understand that they originate from me alone. Na tu aham, teshu, aham, I am not in them. That's na tvaham teshu te mai, which means I am not dependent on them, but they are dependent on me. Na, indeed, tu means indeed. Aham teshu means I am on them. What on them? I am dependent on them. Te mai, they in me. What in me? They are dependent on me. So they are all these states. I am free from all of them, but they depend on me. He is now going to talk about an important concept called Maya. So he is laying the groundwork for that. So bhavaha refers to the thoughts in the mind that comes from the three gunas. The state, bhava is literally a state. It's the thoughts, the state of mind. And thoughts, why he's saying they are dependent on me. It's like electricity. Remember this example you have to always follow. The computer screen is blank. Now, if when you power it, a lot of things come. So our mind is like that. And what powers it? Electricity. So it's not electricity, it's consciousness. Like electricity powering a computer, consciousness powers the mind. So, and what is consciousness? It is Bhagavan. So thoughts depend on the consciousness to even form, but consciousness is not dependent on the thoughts. So electricity is not dependent on the images on the screen. Okay. So consciousness is the para prakriti. Remember, Bhagavan talked about para and apara prakriti. Para means supreme. Apara means less, not supreme. So para prakriti never changes. Thoughts in the mind, apara prakriti, changes all the time due to gunas. Gunas are never the same. Constantly our mind is changing. And not how is it changing? Violently changing. Chitta vritti is, look at the word in Sanskrit, a lot of the things, how you roll something, it conveys the intensity of the feeling, like a whirlpool, right? That is vritti. It's like just can suck you in. That's so it is, the mind is violently changing. Sattva is the knowledge faculty. These are all power of the thoughts. Rajas is dynamism. Tamas is dullness. You need all three. You need also tamas to sleep. Otherwise, we can never sleep. But it has to be balanced. This is the first time the mind and the thoughts are introduced as apara prakriti by Bhagavan. So very clearly he says the mind. So here very clearly saying, these states of sattva, rajas, and tamas originate from me. I'm not dependent on them. They are dependent on me. They are subservient. So he says they are the apara prakriti. Very clearly, he says that. Now, then there's a question. This is the common question that asks. So Shankaracharya gives an elaborate explanation. If the thoughts in the mind are dependent on Bhagavan, we have to blame Bhagavan for everything. Remember this Rishi Uttanka, when Bhagavan, after the war is over, he is starting to leave, then Yudhishthira gets second thoughts. So he has to make sure Yudhishthira is able to has his mind himself together, so he ascends the throne. And then Arjuna forgets the Gita. So Bhagavan has to tell him Anugita all the time. He's rushing so that because the affairs in Dwaraka, he doesn't know what's happening, right? Bhagavan is rushing to go back to Dwaraka because he's been away from his kingdom for a long time. Then one by one, they stop him and say, Bhagavan, please teach me Anugita, please teach me Gita. And Bhagavan says, I already taught you. How come you forget? But I'll teach you again. So he teaches him Anugita. That is same message, but in a different format. And then finally, as he was just 1 foot on the chariot, 1 foot on the ground, this person, Uttanka, comes. Remember, we've seen the story. And Rishi, he's a Rishi. And he comes and says, Krishna, Krishna, where are you going? I'm going to Dwaraka. Why? What happened? The war is over. So Yudhishthira is now the king, and I'm done my job. I'm going. What war are you talking about? Oh, the Mahabharata war between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Oh, Krishna, I hope you were able to stop the war and broker peace between the cousins. And Bhagavan says, unfortunately, Uttanka, that was not the case, and everybody on the Kaurava side died. And this angers Uttanka. He's a Rishi. Krishna, how can you do? You are the one who knows everything, who controls everything. How can you do such a thing? And he says, you better give me a good answer, Krishna. Otherwise, I am going to curse you. This Rishi telling Bhagavan, I'm going to curse you. You better give me a good answer. Puts him at the sword point. And then Bhagavan says, I told them many times, so many times I went and told them, but because of their durbuddhi, their evil attitude, they never listened. And they met with the end. And then he is still grumbling. This is not a good enough reason. But what you were responsible for their karma, their all the evil thoughts and everything. And Bhagavan says, no, it is from their previous janma. Then Uttanka says, you caused that previous janma. No, he says, previous janma is because of their karma. So it goes on and then Uttanka says, you caused their first janma. So you threw them in the earth and you caused them to suffer. It's all your sadist. He says, I'm going to give you a curse. Then Bhagavan says, stop. Don't waste your puny curses on me. All your lifelong tapobalam you got from your tapas, it can't even scratch me. Don't waste and lose all your tapobalam. It's like useless. And then he explains, all the beings are there infinitely, but because of the Maya Shakti, they are deluded. And it is only by seeking the Bhagavan they get this knowledge. So Krishna gives this elaborate explanation. And then Uttanka realizes this is Bhagavan. Then what does he ask? So then Bhagavan is just lifting his second foot from the ground to keep it midair, keep it in the chariot. And then Uttanka says, can you show me the Vishwarupa Darshana? Then Bhagavan shows the Vishwarupa Darshana. So that's what happens. So now coming back to the topic, I've told a story. Shankaracharya clarifies the possibility for confusion and blame. People can say, if Bhagavan is dependent, if the thoughts were dependent on Ishvara or the consciousness, then Ishvara is responsible for our thoughts. Remember, when Krishna goes to broker peace with Duryodhana, Duryodhana says, Janami dharmam na cha me pravrittihi, Janamya dharmam na cha me nivrittihi, Kenapi devena hridi sthitena, Yata niyogsmi tata karomi. I know what is right. I know what is dharma, but I do not follow dharma. I know what is adharma, but do not refrain from doing. I cannot refrain from doing it. Whatever, because whatever that Lord which resides in my heart makes me do, that I do helplessly. So he puts the blame on Bhagavan. But Shankaracharya clarifies, Ishvara is only the samanya karanam, general cause. Discrimination. This is what we studied in the first Shatkam. Prayatna, individual effort, individual discrimination is absolutely needed. Discrimination is the Vishesha Karanam, specific cause. Gasoline is the general cause for a car to drive. Whether it drives on the road or sidewalk depends on the specific cause. If the car doesn't have gasoline, it can't go. But who's driving the car? It is the driver, intelligence of the driver. So discrimination, that is totally up to the individual. Okay. So this concludes Shlokas 4 to 12 on the Ishvara Swarupam. So here, let's recap. Features of Ishvara or Bhagavan. First, in the Bhagavad Gita, this is where it's elaborated. In the first Shatkam, it's all about Atma. Now he talks about Ishvara. First, it's about Jivatma, which is basically the reflected consciousness and the Sukshma Shariram. Bhagavan is defined as Para Prakriti, consciousness, and Apara Prakriti. Now he's going to define Apara Prakriti more. Apara Prakriti is generally we can look at it as the material universe. Even the body is Apara Prakriti. And Bhagavan is the Jagat, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya Karanam. Srishti, creator, Sthiti, preserver, and Laya means it's dissolution. So we can't say destroy. Layam, it means you dissolve. So it's dissolving because there's nothing is destroyed. It comes back again. Visrjami punah punaha, Bhagavan will say, I send them back again and again. I dissolve, send them back. Dissolve, send them back. Then Vishwarupa, Ishvara Swarupa, how is that? It is Vishwarupam. Ishvara, Vishwarupa Ishvara. Bhagavan's form is what? The entire universe. And Bhagavan is Satya, always there. Jagat is Mithya. These Jagat consists only of names and forms. One day, even a rock, which is there for like 1,000,000 years, after a long time, it becomes powder. It can be eroded, whatever. By wind, water, it becomes sand. So, rock. One day, after 1,000,000 years, sand. So, what is it? It is not permanent. It's just a name form. And if there's a violent explosion, there can be a nuclear fusion, and the entire thing can be a different element. So, nothing is permanent. This, which looks seemingly real but not real, is called mithya. Myth. The word myth comes from mithya, seemingly real. When you are dreaming, the dream seems so real, but when you wake up, it's not there. So this is called mithya. But Bhagavan is Satya. Satya means what? We generally think of it as truth. Satya means permanent, absolute existence. So Ishvara has independent existence and the universe has dependent existence. Now we enter the third topic in the 7th chapter, Samsara Karanam and Samsara Pariharaha. Samsara is what? The cycle, human suffering, cycle of births, death, birth, death, birth, death. Karanam is cause and remedy of the human suffering. Pariharha is remedy. So we'll see that in 13 through 19. Samsara is human suffering through the cycle of births and deaths, causes and remedies for samsara. त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैः ये विसर्पमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेप्यपरम् अव्ययम्. Very important shloka. Here, Bhagavan introduces this concept of Maya. So, the entire world of human beings, deluded by these states of mind, brought about by the three gunas, do not know me, who is beyond these three gunas and changeless. Okay? Bhava is state or the nature of the mind. So, Tribir Gunamaya Bhava, my Bhava, Evi Sarvam Idam Jagat, Mohitam. So, they're all deluded. Mohitam means deluded. And Na Abhijanati, they don't know me. Who am I? I am beyond Mahamebhya Param Avyayam. I am beyond these what gunas, and Avyayam, changeless. Messages. We are so distracted by the apara prakriti, all the objects, our body, we lose track of the consciousness, the para prakriti. So Bhagavan says, hold on to the permanent para prakriti and don't be distracted by the um, apara prakriti, because apara prakriti can delude you. It is not going to give you support. You hold on to the apara prakriti, but Swamiji will always give the example. So once he went to, I think, Hardwar or somewhere up in the Himalayas. I think Hardwar. Yeah. So there are these ghats where people go and bathe, and their Ganga flows. The current is strong, so they have these iron railings to hold on to. If you miss that, you can be swept away. And one of the railings apparently was not fixed properly, and somebody was holding on to that, and it gave away. So this person was swept a little, but fortunately, there was a rock, and the person was able to cling on to this, and somebody threw a rope and rescued. So messages, even things which look solid, sturdy, they are impermanent. So don't cling on to apara prakriti for support. Always hold on to para prakriti. That is you, the consciousness. This is the message. Don't think, oh, my body, I'm relying on the fact that my body is beautiful. I'm relying on my image, my good looks to go into the world. Because one day it will be there, another day it's gone. Whereas this consciousness in you, not even your mind, it's that consciousness that's always there. And you are that consciousness. That's the message. So the 13th verse is the diagnosis of human samsara. Next, the 14th verse is going to give the remedy for human samsara. Example is a movie theater screen. The screen is constant and the basis or the background for the movie to happen. This is called the para prakriti. Yet we lose track of the constant screen and we get engrossed in the images of the screen, apara prakriti. So in different contexts, there are different things you serve. In the Chittavritti Nirodha, we saw that the light, right, that's on the screen was like the mind screen where the images are played. Here, the screen, the analogy used, the screen is like the substratum, always constant. But on the screen, images start getting played. And we don't look at the screen, but we look at the image. And that what deludes us. This is an example that they give in Vedanta. It's a different example from the mind example we've seen, analogy. Does everybody remember the mind example? The light shining, the thoughts are like the images played. Our mind is constantly like that, right? So pratyaya is all these things that are played on the movie theater of the mind. That's a different example. Here, there's a different analogy that's used. Here, the consciousness is is akin to the constant screen. It's always the same. Nothing changes, whereas images are changing second after second, millisecond after millisecond. So 14th verse is the remedy for human samsara. We're going to see that soon. And apara prakriti is likened to mohini. It can delude a person. So the mohini avatara is so in the um, Bhagavatam, Bhagavan takes the rupam of this beautiful lady. So what happens is that Samudra Madanam happens. So does everybody want to hear the story from the start, or should I just start with Samudra Madanam, or why the Samudra Madanam happened? What's your preference? Hmm?
From the beginning.
From the beginning. Okay. There's always somebody who creates problems, right? This time it is Rishi, and who our if we have to thank somebody for all the stories we have, there's one Rishi you should thank, and that is Rishi Durvasa. So Durvasa is an angry Rishi. And what does Durvasa do? So Durvasa is very good at giving curses. So there's also an asana named after this. So angry Rishi. So here he's cursing Indra. And the story goes that initially there, Durvasa was walking, and there's a woman who is just knit and beautiful garland, flowers and other things. And she sees Durvasa walking. She gets scared. So if I go past the Rishi with a garland, he will get upset that I'm not worshipping him. So she just falls at his feet and just gives him the garland, because she's going to sell it in the market. But unfortunately, she sees Durvasa and she's scared because Durvasa gives curses. So he's liberal at giving curses. Some rishis are very liberally, they bless people. Durvasa liberally gives curses. So she's terrified. So gives the garland. So Bhagavan, Maharishi, please bless me. And she gives him the garland. So Durvasa, what would he do with the garland? He's not going to put it on his neck. So rishis don't do that. So he's going, and then he sees Indra riding his Airavata. Hey, Indra, I have this beautiful garland for you. Take it. So he keeps it on and Indra says, Airavata, please get the garland. So he keeps it on the trunk, and then the elephant gives the garland to Indra, who's sitting on the elephant. And Indra doesn't know what to do with this, so he just keeps it to ornate the elephant. He keeps it on the head of the elephant. It's nicely hanging from the head like that. But this has some flowers which have sharp edges. The stem is sharp, so it pokes the elephant. So the elephant, after some time, it couldn't bear it. It just shakes the head, and the garland falls down. And not only does it fall down, elephant goes stamps on the garland. Durvasa notices that. How dare you disrespect something I gave you? I'm going to give you a curse. All your powers will be gone. So at that time, Indra has all these powers because he's had the divine nectar, Sura. That's why they're called Devas, the Suras, and Asuras are those who have not had that. So Indra's powers are gone. So he goes and worships Vishnu. Every time Vishnu is the one who comes and protects. So he worships Vishnu, and Vishnu says, okay, churn the ocean, and you need Mount Mandara to as a Madana, Mat in Tamil, even in some languages, they use the word to churn the yogurt. I don't know if they do it these days because we get packaged yogurt, but previously, to make buttermilk out of yogurt, they would churn it like that. So it's called mat. So the madanam, the word mat comes from madanam. It means churning of the ocean. So Mount Mandara is used as the mat. And um, then how do you need a rope to do that, right? What's the rope? So the rope is Vasuki. So Shiva gives Vasuki to for churning, and they don't have enough people. So the Devas seek the help of Asuras. They have a pact. We'll give you some of the nectar we get, 50-50. So the Asuras, being greedy, they agreed. And then the mountain starts sinking. So Bhagavan takes the form of Kurma and comes underneath and sustains the mountain. So it's a stable platform. And then they get the nectar. A lot of things come out, and then they get the nectar. And the Asuras immediately snatch it and said, okay, we'll first have our share and then we'll give it to you. And if the Asuras drink the nectar, it is gone. They will become invincible. And being bad, they'll create a lot of things and cause problems. So the only way, you can't get it from them from force. They'll fight tooth and nail. So Bhagavan takes the form of Mohini. So this it's a seductive woman. And she says, oh, the Asuras, being Asuras, they start fighting. Oh, let me have this first. Let me have that first. And Bhagavan comes as Mohini, and Mohini says, I will donate it to you. Please stand in a line and I will give it to you. So they all agreed. But first, let's start on that side, because we have to do it in a pradakshanam. So if that's the proper format. I'll start with Asuras and I'll come around. I'll start with the Devas and I'll come around. So she starts giving to the Devas. Then one Asura called Rahu, he disguises himself as a Deva, and he comes and stands in line. And Mohini pours the nectar, and Asura takes and drinks. At the time, somebody spots, oh, he's Asura. And then from Mohini comes Bhagavan, full Swarupam, with the chakra, and cuts the head of the Asura. So the two pieces that form Rahu, the head, and Ketu, the other one. So that's the story of Rahu and Ketu. But the Mohini it's likened to something that deceives. So that is the Apara Prakriti, the Maya is likened to Mohini. So that's the story of Mohini. Back to the topic. Daivi Kesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Dhuratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. I put a star for these two shlokas. Very important, especially for Vaishnavas. Prapatti. Mameva Ye Prapadyante. Prapadyante means also complete surrender. They are the ones who are able to cause this Maya. This Maya is delusion. It's like Mohini. Daivi hi Esha Gunamaya. Esha, these Maya is Daivi, it's divine Maya. Bhagavan, look at the word he uses. This divine Maya of mine, Duratyaya, which means it is very difficult to cross. Gunamayi, it is full of gunas. What causes the Maya? It's a guna, sattva, rajas, and tamas, all this concoction, this whirl of. So think about this. When you take water, you put a watercolor. So when you do the painting, you put watercolor, another color, another color. You have three colors swirling and they mix. That's how the gunas are. The gunas cause all this churn. It's very difficult to cross. This Maya of mine is very difficult to cross. Mameva, only those, ye prapadyante, those who surrender to me, Mayam etam tarantite, can cross this Maya. Taranti means cross. Okay? This divine Maya of mine, which consists of the three gunas, is indeed difficult to cross. Only those who surrender to me cross over this Maya. characteristic of Maya, the deluding principle. Maya is the deluding principle in apara prakriti due to the gunas. Maya is very powerful and difficult to be conquered. Dhuratyaya, by one's intellect. So if you try to use the intellect, you can get somewhere, but at some point it'll catch you. It cannot be conquered by intellect. Maya is the property of apara prakriti. Again and again, it's insisted. It's a property of apara prakriti, but um, you can't hear me. Can somebody say?
Yeah, I'm hearing you well.
Okay, so Shakti, I think you're not able to hear me.
She probably logged off to log back in or something.
Yeah. So the Maya, a property of the apara prakriti, it belongs to the para prakriti alone. So Mama Maya. So Bhagavan says, this Maya is mine, and it it is it is dependent. Maya is dependent on the Paraprakriti. So there is consciousness and the material universe. So Maya is nothing but a resolved form of the material universe. When there is pralayam that's happened, everything resolves. There are only two entities there. One is consciousness, and all the other beings, our karana shariram, goes into Maya. And when the Maya releases it during creation, it becomes the material universe, matter and energy. And then during pralayam, it resolves. Okay? So this Maya, it's property of mind. It belongs to the Paraprakriti alone, thus to Ishvara. Maya can only be conquered through bhakti. And the gunas are detailed in the 14th chapter. Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. Now, Bhagavan is going to introduce bhakti. He's set the stage for bhakti. So he's going to introduce bhakti. There's, it's elaborated in chapter 12, titled Bhakti Yoga. But here, Bhagavan introduces the concept and talks about three types of bhakti. Manda bhakti, dull devotion, lowest form of devotion, pursuit of artha, kama, and sometimes dharma, using Bhagavan as the means. Mainly artha and kama, that is material wealth, security. Artha literally means security, because it is wealth can give you security. Kama is desire, pleasure. So those who worship God for getting wealth, that is manda bhakti. That kind of bhakti is called manda bhakti, dull devotion. Madhyama bhakti is intermediate stage. Bhagavan becomes the end in itself. And then the Uttama Bhakti. So Madhyama Bhakti means to, um, how the way you can think about it as, I want to just completely surrender into Bhagavan. I want, like Mirabai and all these people, they didn't want anything. They just wanted to dissolve into Bhagavan. That is Madhyama Bhakti. That is great. Madhyama Bhakti is great. But then there's a Uttama Bhakti, one stage beyond that. What is Uttama Bhakti? Uttama Bhakti is Jnanam. What is that? Aham Brahmasmi. I am that Bhagavan. There's the same consciousness in the universe that is in me also. The reflecting medium is teeny weeny. The reflecting medium of the universe is big. Paramatma, Aham Jivatma. But what's powering it is the same. It is like a wave and the ocean. It's the same water. I am part of that. Aham Brahmasmi. So in the 18th chapter, it says, Bhagavan says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe junatishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudani mayaya. Very famous shloka. This is worth remembering. Ishvara, consciousness, sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. It's in the heart of all beings. Heart literally refers to the mind. Brahmayan Sarvabhutani, and it makes us do things as though mounted on a machine. So it's like a machine, like a fan rotating. This consciousness makes it go round and round. So here yantram refers to the pottery wheel. So those days they didn't have ceiling fan and all that. Here it refers to a pottery wheel, like the pottery wheel turns like that, and the pot is on top of it. So it makes us go round and round and do things. What is this Ishvara? So Ishvara, Aham Brahmasmi, that Ishvara is me. Now, in the first Shatkam, Krishna says that Jnanam is the only way to moksha. Now he says, only by bhakti one can attain moksha. Where is the contradiction? Right? First Shatkam very clearly says, in the end of the second chapter, Bhagavan very clearly he said, Esha Brahmi sthiti partha nainam prapya vimuhyati sthitva syam antakalepi brahma nirpanam richati. Esha Brahmi sthiti, this knowledge of the Brahman, when they're situated in that, nainam prapya vimukhyati, they're not deluded anymore. Vimukhyati, they're never deluded anymore. Sthitva syam antakalepi, at the end of this life, when they're situated in that knowledge, brahma nirvanam richati, they getting liberation, moksha. So very clearly he says that. Now Bhagavan says, bhakti, it's only by bhakti this can happen. So where's the contradiction? Krishna will clarify that the last stage of bhakti, the Uttama bhakti, is jnana. Okay, so that is the beauty. Wait and see, because this is a huge misconception about bhakti. Swamiji explains this so very well. So listen to these important shlokas. Namam dushkrutino mudaha prapadyante nyadev. Oh, prapadyante naradhamaha mayaya pahritajnana asuram bhavamashritah. The evildoers, the deluded, dushkritino, dushkriti, actions, those who do evil actions, the evildoers, mudaha, the deluded, naradhama, dhamma means lowest, adama means lowest among humans, nara is humans, lowest among humans, na prapadyante, they do not take refuge in me. Maya apahrita jnana, being deprived of discrimination by Maya. Jnana here is discrimination, knowledge. Maya apahrita, being deprived due to Maya. Asuram bhavam ashrita, they take refuge in the ways of the asuras, demonic ways. And in the 16th chapter, Bhagavan, so I've always said this, right? The word Bhagavan uses, where there is Bhagavan, there's no boredom. He uses like fancy language, he uses very critical language. In the Upanishads, it's called Muda. Here Bhagavan says Vimuda. So which means idiot and a distilled idiot. So Vimuda, V is a qualifier. So Bhagavan makes things very interesting for us. Unlike the Yoga Sutras is like a scientific doctrine. They don't say bhakti, they say prapaddi and all those they don't use. Ishvara Pranidhana, like a very formal term they use. But here, look at the 16th chapter, we'll see Daivasura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga, the divine and demonic ways of people, the division of the divine and demonic traits in people. Tanaham dvishatak kruran samsareshu narataman shipam yajastramashubhan asurimeva yonishu asurim yonimapannaha mudha janmani janmani mama prapyaiva kaunteya tato yantagamam gatim. Look at the words he's going to use. In the 16th chapter, it will come. I hurl those cruel haters of me, those who criticize me, the lowliest among you, human beings, Naradaman, same thing uses there too. The lowliest among human beings, the impious, into the demonic wombs, perpetually for a life of samsara. And entering these asura wombs or the demonic wombs, birth after birth, the deluded ones, without reaching me, O son of Kunti, they fall into a lower, still lower condition. So this is the words he's using. So very clearly he says, those who are not taking refuge in me, deprived of discrimination by Maya, because Maya cannot be crossed by intellect. You have to have refuge. They take refuge in the ways of the asuras. If you don't take refuge, so there are two paths going here, bhakti and jnanam, and slowly they're going to culminate. Now Bhagavan is and Krishna says, even to come to bhakti, one has to have punya from the proper lifestyle. And in the third chapter, he says, what obstructs this punya? Kama esha, krodha esha, rajo guna samudbhavaha, mahashano mahapapma, viddhena miha vairinam. This lust, this anger born out of rajoguna is insatiable and very sinful. Know this to be the enemy in this lifetime. Now, Bhagavan is going to grade 4 types of bhaktas based on what they are seeking. So, previously we saw 3 types of bhaktas based on the quality of practice. Low, manda bhakta, madhyama bhakta, and we saw uttama bhakta. Now he's going to, so this is not really explicitly said in these verses, but this is kind of implied. The commentators, they talk about manda bhakti, madhyama bhakti, and uttama bhakti. Now Bhagavan is going to talk about the 4 types of bhaktas based on what they are seeking. Okay, so he's going to grade them. He's going to give grades, A, B, C, D, all that he's going to give. Very important shloka. Chaturveda bhajante mam jana sukritinorjuna artho jignasu artati jnani cha bharatarshava. 4 types of virtuous people. Sukritino Arjuna. Sukriti means good deeds. So the virtuous people, they surrendered to me, O Arjuna. Artha, the artha, distressed, those who are in great physical or mental pain. Artharthi, those who are seeking wealth. Jignasu, the seekers of knowledge. And Jnani, the wise, or best among the Bharatas. Bharata, Arjuna is called Bharata Rishabha. Again, he's using the word. The order of the seekers is seekers of wealth, seekers of knowledge. These two are interchanged. So when Bhagavan is going to grade, so for example here, Jana Sukrit Artho Jignasu Artharthi. It is just for the meter reasons. Artho is a distressed person. This is number 1. Then number 2 is not the one who seeks knowledge. Number 2 is actually the one who is seeking wealth. Number 3 is the one who seeks knowledge. You understand? But because of the meter, these two are interchanged. So number 1, distressed person. Number 2, one who's seeking knowledge. Number 2, one who's seeking wealth. Number 3, one who's seeking knowledge. Finally, the wise person, because the wise person already knows. He's a jnani. He's already wise. And it continues into the next shloka. Tesham jnani nitya yuktaha yeka bhaktir vishishyate priyo hi jnani notyartam aham sacha mama priyaha. Of them, the jnani, Nitya Yuktaha, who's ever steadfast and has undivided Eka Bhaktihi, undivided devotion. He doesn't say, oh, if I worship that God, I'll get wealth. If I worship that God, I'll get this benefit. No, he, he just sticks to one and he just worship Bhagavan in whatever form. This jnani is superior. Jnani nitya yukta eka bhaktir vishishyate, superior, is better than the rest. Priyo hi jnani no tyartam aham sacha mama priyaha. I'm very extremely dear to the jnani. Priyo hi jnani no atyartam, very much I'm dear to the jnani. Aham sacha mama priyaha, and they are also very dear to me. Atiyartham is very or extremely. Priya Atiyartham, very dear. So the biggest, Swamiji points out, the biggest misconception people have. So it is a very important shloka to remove the misconception. The jnani has no bhakti. So when people start studying Vedanta, they all think, oh, these Vedantins, they're all intellectuals. Because they talk about consciousness, all that, they're just dry. These peoples are so dry. We bhaktas, we all shed tears. Then Swamiji says, isn't there enough tears in life? Do you have to shed more tears? So, but this is a misconception people have, that jnani has no bhakti. It is completely untrue. And here he says, jnani is the greatest bhakta. Um, uh, some people apparently say the dry and the wet paths of worship. Dry path is jnanam, that is knowledge, Vedanta, and the wet path is bhakti path. That's absolutely untrue. So this shloka clarifies that. And this shloka removes many misconceptions. People think that one can follow bhakti yoga without coming to jnanam and gain liberation. That is not true. And they think jnanam is the most difficult thing. Jnana is the driest sadhana in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, very difficult already. Jnana yoga is not possible. Therefore, I will come to the more comfortable one, which is bhakti. Is misconception. Absolutely not true. Bhagavan has said. And what do you mean by people coming to jnana means some people think, oh, it's meditation. No, this is another misconception. Knowledge, you can't get knowledge through meditation. Meditation helps assimilate things, but you have to study the knowledge through systematic study of scriptures from a competent acharya. Shravanam. And many people in the Bhagavatam also. Bhagavatam is a wonderful text. It has beautiful stories of bhakti. Bhagavatam means it's a text on the bhaktas. Bhagavatam means a story of all the devotees. And it also has the Saguna Krishna aspects, that is the one as Krishna, and it also has the Nirguna Krishna aspects, which is the consciousness. But people filter out the Nirguna portion. Okay, Swamiji says they will talk about Ajamila Upakyanam, Jatabharata Upakyanam, all the Upakyanams are there. Story is beautifully described, but when in the last portion, when they talk about the higher nature, they quietly skip it. Like in the school, they have some portions are difficult and the teachers are uncomfortable teaching those portions. So they'll say, well, we'll just skip it. In the multiple, you'll have a choice in the exam. So when somebody asks you that question, just skip it, use the choice. So it's like that. So, but Swamiji says, no. This is the most important thing. You can't skip. And there's also a misconception. Whoever is a jnani, he cannot have bhakti, because if jnanam comes, bhakti leaves. Some people ask Swamiji apparently, Swamiji, after studying Vedanta, my bhakti is going. So then Swamiji says, if the bhakti is going, we are only studying Vedanta, we are not understanding Vedanta. So if Vedanta is understood, bhakti will never grow. In fact, Krishna will assert jnani alone is the greatest, is asserted here as the greatest bhakta. Why is he the greatest, or he or she the greatest bhakta? Because nitya yuktaha, this person is ever established in my nature. This is steadfast, because in Dvaita Bhakti, God, we saw the example of gopis. When Krishna comes, gopis rejoice. When Krishna goes, gopis cry. And how do they cry? They cry in tune. Unlike us, they cry in tune, like ragam. Susurju Sujan Rajan. So like Suswaram Visrujan Rajan. So like with swara they cry. God is subject to arrival and departure, whereas if you, the jnani, knows I am Brahman, God, I am that consciousness. So there is no question of arrival and departure. In the and Swamiji points out this beautiful. It's a little scary. This example in the Brihadaranya Upanishad, Yajnavalkya tells his wife Gargi. Gargi is one of the greatest yogis, so enlightened. But because to help us, as though she's asking all these questions to Yajnavalkya, and he tells his very dear wife Gargi. So the conclusion is self-love is the greatest form of love in human beings. This is, can you believe it? In the Upanishads, it says this, that human beings are so selfish. Self-love is the greatest love. So Yajnavalkya said, my dear, you have been my beloved even before, and you say what is after my heart. Come, take your seat. I will explain it to you. As I explain it, meditate on its meaning. It is not for the sake of the husband, my dear, that he is loved, but for one's own sake that he is loved. It is not for the sake of the wife, my dear, that she is loved, but for one's own sake that she is loved. It is not for the sake of the sons, my dear, that they are loved, but for one's own sake that they are loved. It is not for the sake of wealth, my dear, that it's loved, but for one's own sake that it's loved. So, it says, no one loves anyone. Very disturbing fact. Everyone loves oneself only. This is a hugely disturbing fact that we are all thinking our family members. Swamiji gives this example, especially in the traditional Indian society. They were at the end of every sentence they won't say "I love you, I love you." It's well, the import of things, Western things, came into India, and without all this every sentence you have to say "I love you, I love you." Apparently, because love is always doubtful. Swamiji says. Anyway, this is just a joke that Swamiji makes. Swamiji's talks are very hilarious. Um, as long as those external factors are conducive, we love that. Once they're not conducive, like a hot potato, everything is rejected. This is true, the truth, the bitterest truth. And the Shastra even goes one step further. Even love of God, when God is an object other than you, that is conditional because you're suffering and God is not giving what you want. Then you don't love God. It becomes wavery. And the Shastra, um, therefore, the Upanishad says it's a beautiful logic. If love towards God must be the highest, if love towards God must be the highest, it is possible only under one condition, that Aham Brahma Asmi. If self-love is the greatest love, and if love towards the God is the highest form of love, there's only one way both can be true. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that God is in me. So this is what the jnani knows. Aham Brahmasmi. And jnani is the person who loves Bhagavan the most. So Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says self-love is the greatest form of love. Jnani is the person who loves Bhagavan the most. From 17th shloka, conclusion from A and B, jnani is the greatest bhakta because he knows, or she knows, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. That same thing, that consciousness, I see because of that consciousness. The I is that consciousness. I is not the mind. Because you can see the thoughts in the mind. There's a sakshi, a witness, which is what you see in meditation. Okay? Then, so this is one shloka. Udhara sarpaye vaite jnani tvatmaiva me matham astita sahi yuktatma ma me panuttamam gatim. Exalted indeed are all these people. However, the jnani I deem to be my very self. Jnani Atma eva me matam. Matam, I consider the jnani to be Atma eva, myself alone. And the Astita sahi yuktatma mave mameva antamam gatim. That for that steadfast person, attains me alone, the highest goal. And so Bhagavan is consoling the other devotees. So if he says, I am partial to this disciple, others will feel inferiority or complex, right? So he says, Udhara, exalted, they're all great devotees, but the jnani is me, myself. Bhagavan gives a consolation, but he still puts the jnani on the pedestal. Okay, with that, we will stop this class.